Alright, welcome back to another Dazzle video. Today we are going to talk about starting items and laning items. These are really the first maybe 3-4 minutes of the game. We're going to go over the different starting items, what is good on Dazzle, and why you want to buy some of these items that we're going to talk about. The first item we're going to talk about is the Observer Ward. Okay, Dazzle being a positional hero. First of all, it's kind of a good habit even if you play other heroes. But especially Dazzle, prioritize vision at all times. By the way, I'm playing just a bot game just to talk over this video because I can't play a real game and explain things at the same time. But placing early Observer Ward, don't take both Observer Wards. I did this on in a bot game because bots do not take wards. It's really important to get into the habit. Every time you look at this, open your shop, you want to buy all the observers and all the sentries as the game goes on. Obviously, in the very early game, you don't want to buy all the sentries. You don't want to buy all the wards because your team is going to need them. But as the game goes on, you start having team fights. You start grouping up a little bit more. That's when you really want to take charge and grab the vision. As a Dazzle player, you're going to be benefiting the most out of anyone. And, of course, vision is something that's going to help your team as well. Now, the first thing we're going to do here is just go one-on-one with the position 4. And you'll get a first blood just as easy as that. Even in a real game, this will happen. Okay, but let me explain the importance of the items that I bought. First, you want tangos. Tangos are important because you want regen. You don't want to buy a salve in the early game, right when you start. Start with tangos. The next 3 things you want to buy, you don't have to buy all of them, but you want to buy a combination of the 3. You want stats, you want minus armor, and you want, actually there's 4 things. You want stats, you want minus armor, you want a fairy fire, and then you want some sort of movement speed item. Either a windlace at the start, and then the blightstone, or you can just go all stats. So you can basically get circlets and iron branches. So here's an explanation of why stats are good with Dazzle. So Dazzle is a universal hero. We have 1 agi hero, 1 int hero, and 1 strength hero. For every one of these heroes, they get 12 mana, they get 22 health, and they get 1 attack damage. That's the same for all 3 guys. But Dazzle, as a universal hero, gets 2 damage. Okay, they still get the same 12 mana and 22 health. So that's the main advantage that you have as a Dazzle player, or as a universal hero. This is more of a universal hero thing, but since Dazzle is a universal hero, you definitely want to take advantage of this. It might sound very minor, but it adds up in the trades, especially when we consider things like minus armor. Moving on to the Blightstone, minus armor. Why minus armor is very important on Dazzle more than any other hero in the early game is all of his spells, his Q and his E, are all going to be physical damage spells. So it's kind of counterintuitive. It's a spell, but it does physical damage. Same thing with Shadow Wave. So not only are you going to get value out of your auto attacks, so if you don't know, reducing a opponent's armor is going to make them take more physical damage with any kind of physical damage spells or auto attacks. So it's a very valuable item on Dazzle against most heroes. Now, if you are playing against a very high armor hero, like a Terrorblade, who is very popular as a position 4 or 5 right now, it's not going to do much, okay? But for the most part, it's going to be a valuable item, even though it costs 300 gold. If you decide not to buy the Blightstone, you can go a lot more tangos, you can buy an extra sentry, you can buy 2 circlets, you can do a lot more things. The Fairy Fire, the reason of Fairy Fire, which all it does is restore 85 health, is because you're going to be doing a lot of engaging in the early game. What you don't want to do here is, I'll illustrate it. What you don't want to do is stand back here, you know, go for a deny once in a while, maybe poke, and then stand back here. poke and stand back here. Your spells are they reward being active. Okay, so you don't want to be passive as a Dazzle. In addition to that, you want to control the spawn camps. You want to control the camps in the laning stage. That's the ideal goal. Now, there's going to be some matchups where you're not going to be able to stand in this area at all. So you're going to have to play passive. But if you had the chance, you want to be very aggressive. You want to posture. You want to at least make the carry help his support, the opponent carry, help his support in fighting you instead of getting the last hits. That way, your own carry has a much easier time last hitting. They're going to get a little bit ahead, which is going to help you win the game. Fairy Fire is a very good trading item, kind of like baiting item. So you bait the opponent into thinking they can kill you, and then you turn the fight with the Fairy Fire. The reason it's much better on Dazzle than most other heroes is because you have Shadow Wave. So Shadow Wave is almost like a Fairy Fire in a sense that it can turn the fight in the early game very, very hard. So not only do you heal yourself, but you damage the opponent. And you can damage the opponent by a lot. The term heal bomb is used a lot. You can bait opponents into walking into the creep wave, or if you have a melee partner in lane, they can also act as kind of like the allies surrounding the enemy. And how Shadow Wave works is the more allies are around the enemy takes more damage. The heal stays constant, but the damage goes up. So that's why Fairy Fire is very good. Going along with that, movement speed, so having a windlace or boots is going to be very good because Poison Touch is a spell that rewards higher movement speed. So if the opponent is less movement speed than you, you can continue to hit them, continue applying the damage, continue applying the Poison Touch buff. So movement speed is also a viable option in the very early game as a starting item. And of course, I would recommend that you buy boots first if you didn't have a windlace, just so you can secure that advantage over your opponents. Okay, so for example, I don't want to stand back here. I want to try and land a Poison Touch. And I'm going to try and see if I can show how useful a Fairy Fire is. Another cool thing is if you can kind of memorize the timing of when Wind Run will run out, you can auto attack before Wind Run runs out, and that way they get hit with it before your Poison Touch buff runs out. So I think Wind Run is 3 seconds level 1 or 3.5 seconds. So you have 5 seconds, they have 3. So Wind Runner is generally a good matchup. Now we're going to go into our very early game items and what I recommend for very early game items. First, I recommend a wand. A wand is all about trading. It rewards active behavior, and Dazzle needs to be active in order to get the most out of the hero. You don't want to sit in the back and wait to heal people and slow enemies as they try and chase you down. You want to be doing the chasing, and you want to be actively baiting them into certain situations. In the very early game, a salve is usually needed. In this game, obviously I'm playing bots, so they're not going to do much, but a salve would be great if it was coming to me preemptively. I recommend some sort of mana item, clarities or mangoes. I know that mangoes are a little more expensive. However, I do believe they are worth it because clarities take a long time, they can be broken, and it kind of forces you to step out of the fight or the lane for a long time. And right now, there's just so much going on. For example, in 43 seconds, I'm going to have to get this Lotus Pool. So I'm going to start thinking about that. You're kind of thinking ahead all the time. And so having a clarity, worrying about, oh, is the Windrunner going to cancel it with her W is just so annoying. And also you have a Shaker Totem, a Fissure that you have to worry about. So a Mango, I feel, is usually better. After level 4, I don't think healing salves are the best idea. I think sticking with mangoes, if they're available, are better, just because you're going to have more points in your E. You're going to be able to heal much faster if you just have the mana. So Dazzle is a hero that in the very beginning, first couple levels, a salve, like your health is actually important. And then after that, for sustain, you really just need mana. And then as it permits, I would grab boots and then keep checking the inventory for observer wards and sentry wards. Approaching the 5-minute mark is when you want to start thinking about smoking, and that way you can go to your mid lane at 6 minutes and maybe get a kill on the enemy mid laner, or at least secure the mid lane's power rune at minute 6. So that's kind of a big benchmark that you want to think about. But today's topic is all about items. So in the early game, stats, regen, health regen in the very beginning, fairy fire, a wand, some more stats, and then movement speed along with the minus armor is going to be key. Pretty simple stuff, but I think if you break it down logically, it really makes sense on Dazzle why these items are really good. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys, and talk to you next time. Good luck in your next games as Dazzle.